even if I had appreciated and understood what being on a team, how that could have benefited me, I didn't totally see how someone would want to necessarily be on my team because of my lack of experience and knowledge. So I wish I would have had someone in my ear talking about limiting beliefs and helping me expand my mindset around that concept, because talk about going further faster. Even with the health struggles I had, I think I would have cracked in the industry significantly sooner.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest, Amy Sylvis, she just shared an amazing story yesterday of overcoming an amazing challenge that I just know you were encouraged by. If you didn't listen, I hope you'll go back and listen to yesterday's show. Prior to working in multifamily real estate, she spent 13 years in pharmaceutical and biotech industries, and she was attracted to the real estate industry because of her previous health challenges and wanted to help others navigate, illness. And today, she's the founder and principal of Sylvis Capital with apartment investments in Alabama, Indiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. And she's going to help us to think through today some beginner things that we all wish we had known right when we were first getting started in this business. Amy, welcome back to the show. Honored to do some segments with you and focus in on some of your specialties and even getting to hear your challenge. I think it's that you overcame, right? It's encouraging to me, and I know it is to many of the listeners as well. But we're going to jump into some things today on what's going to be helpful for the beginners, right? People that are getting started in this space, some things you have learned. And many of us were told at one time that it takes a lot of money to get started in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. But I just wanted your take on some of these things and helping maybe the person listening who is brand new, right? And they see real estate as maybe you did 10 years ago, right? Or longer, maybe they just read that purple book that we talked about. Give us some insight into that. How much money does it take to get into this game? And we're going to dive into some of your tips on getting started.
I love that. Yes, you think of large apartment buildings, we all just assume, millions, right? That's only for people that are multi-millionaires. But in fact, $50,000, as little as that, can get you in the game to be a passive investor. So about half of our investors use self-directed IRA funds. That's another thing that not many people realize is accessible to them. So I just love talking about it because of the light, how people's faces light up when they see how accessible this space can be for them.
Yeah, especially the self-directed stuff. I mean, a lot of people have some of that somewhere from another job, or sometimes years ago, it's just sitting somewhere and they've not done anything with it. And it is, even if you don't have that much cash available, oftentimes that's just sitting somewhere and you could use it, right, to get started passively. And so, 50,000, what about on the active side? Did it take a lot of capital to get your real estate business started?
I love that question too. Yes. One of Robert Kiyosaki's favorite tropes is, other people's money, right? OPM. So, there really is a way for you to have investors, have folks invest in your deal so you don't have to utilize a ton of your own money. So, it may take some coaching. It may take some mentoring if you want to learn the space, get some experience, but truly, even earnest money, there are ways where you don't even have to put down your own capital when you give a letter of intent to a broker. And so, yes, the barriers to entry are significantly lower than I think most people realize, which is exciting.
Speak to how you educated yourself to gain the confidence to move forward in this space, whether that's through coaching, mentoring, or books, or what did that look like?
Yes, I read quite a bit. First, Robert Kiyosaki's books, and then several other folks that were in the space just to get a general idea. And then, I did enroll in a coaching and mentoring program that I found to be incredibly helpful. I know some people have various opinions about that, but it's really what you make of it. I found it to be hands-on. It was great to have someone who had, again, been somewhere or was somewhere that I wanted to go, and to be able to lean on that experience as questions came up, because it's impossible to read everything from a book. So that was quite instrumental. And then the network that actually came with that coaching program was another aspect that I found to be incredibly helpful. Finding other people that were on the same journey, that had different skills, were going to the same place that I wanted to go. I'm still business partners with some of those folks today that I met with in that program. So many benefits, at least on my end.
Yeah, the network is oftentimes something I feel like is so undervalued. When people see the big price tag to say be part of a mentorship program, if I knew than what I know now. I mean, I think when I signed up for a mentorship program years ago, it was $12,500. And I mean, it literally, my wife and I were like, should we do this? This is more money than we've ever spent on anything.
Right.
Like, should we do this? We were so hesitant. And I'd never hired a mentor for anything. It was kind of brand new to the entrepreneurship thing and the best money we ever spent. I mean, it was hands down. And that same mentorship now, I think, is like 60 some thousand, with this individual. And so, hindsight, if it had been 60, then we couldn't have afforded it at the time. But I would have had to have found a way if I knew then what I know now, But the network, so important. People don't think about that. Is you're getting a piece that, man, takes years to build, right?
That's exactly it. It is all about compressing years or months into days or weeks. That's spot on. And I think it's tough to kind of visualize and see that, especially Whitney, I really related to what you said about this. I was a first-time entrepreneur. So it's a different way of thinking from that maybe W-2 mindset, or maybe even just from an inexperienced mindset of how can such a huge investment pay dividends? What does a network really do? How tangibly could that help me in my business and enable me to help others in turn? So I love that you brought up that point.
Yeah. I mean, to the point now, I have numerous mentors for different things, right?
Yes.
And I'm paying a lot more than that, than even 60,000 for mentorships on an annual basis. It's like, I know the value in it. And so if you had to look back, Amy, 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself that you wish you had known then? If you could talk to yourself and say, hey, Amy, 10 years ago, this is what you need to know, or about real estate or anything, what would that be?
Get a team. I really had no concept of what that could look like and how that could benefit me. And maybe other people are kind of type A-ish like I am, where, if you're going to get something done, I can do it. I can get it going. Or at least I thought I could. And, what really value would I have, even more importantly, to a team being so new? I think, even if I had appreciated and understood what being on a team, how that could have benefited me, I didn't totally see how someone would want to necessarily be on my team because of my lack of experience and knowledge. So I wish I would have had someone in my ear talking about limiting beliefs and helping me expand my mindset around that concept, because talk about going further faster. Even with the health struggles I had, I think I would have cracked in the industry significantly sooner.
Who are the first people on your team? Or who would you encourage, that person that's trying to build that team now or thinking about getting into this space? Who should be the first people on their team?
I really think people that are established in the space. If you can find a way to add value to folks that are successful, that have complementary skills to you, everyone has something that they can bring of value, even if it's just time or something in your corporate background or another skill set, or maybe you're in a location where other, folks are looking to establish or invest. Yeah, but I think having, again, just reiterating that common theme we're talking about, Whitney, but being around folks that are already where you want to be, that have that experience, is invaluable beyond words.
How did you get around those people?
It was part of the mentorship program. It forced me. It was really a nice built-in concept. And one thing that was really surprising to me that was different than single family with multifamily, that it's not enough to simply have a down payment to be able to get into this space, or to be able to have the amount of money the bank requires for you to get the loan. You need to have the balance sheet and you need to have the experience most often. So kind of built into this process was having to find a sponsor, having to find someone with that balance sheet and that experience to get the loan for my first property. So yes, it was definitely the network from that coaching mentoring program that forced me into networking and really was the catalyst to help me get my first deal.
So why would somebody partner with you with no experience, as, somebody that has the balance sheet and experience? And, I've lived that as well. I needed that early on, right? Now people are asking me for that. What does that look like though? What did it look like for you for this person to trust you, right? In that way, to say, okay, Amy, I know you haven't done a deal yet, but I'm going to partner with you and sign, or, show you, I'm going to sign on the debt with you.
Yes. I passively invested with them prior to wanting to do a deal with them. I would love to say that was strategic. It wasn't. I didn't think that far ahead, but it did provide the groundwork to build this great relationship where, this partnership, this passive investing was actually a joint venture where I wasn't part of the general partnership team, but I was, a JV that had some roles and responsibilities. And starting off small like that and doing the things that I said I would do and being prompt and being professional and, going above and beyond kind of my roles and the scope within that team to find ways to help everyone. Again, not with the expectation of getting anything in return, but simply living that kind of go-giver life, if you will, to quote that Bob Berg book that I love so much. Time and building trust is a tremendous way to have someone view you as a strategic partner moving forward. So that was very beneficial.
Any other thoughts on just what it takes to become a real estate investor?
Gosh, there is this concept of taking strategic risks, of really building a belief table, if you will, to quote one of my great coaches, Trevor McGregor, of realizing the education that one has gone through or you have gone through, the people you're surrounding yourself by, and knowing that if you're going to take a step, what feels like a step into maybe oblivion, the road is going to rise to your feet and you're going to be able to figure out how to make something work. There is a real aspect of taking action, even though something isn't perfect, that I think we all need to come to grips with as real estate investors. And surprisingly, it'll serve you very well and be exciting, I promise.
Love that. Can you give us an example of maybe how you did that?
Gosh, I think buying my first property, it's easy to think of all the things that can go wrong. It was during COVID. We all remember year-on-year GDP was plummeting. Unemployment was sky high. We were hearing, little bits and pieces about an eviction moratorium on a national scale. Those are a lot of reasons to say, hey, maybe this isn't the ideal time to do this for the very first time. But again, on the other hand, there were many things that were in my favor. A lot of people were scared to invest. There were still residents that needed safe, secure, affordable housing. And from kind of a moral and spiritual standpoint, there were reasons in that column for me to take action, even though, I was a bit scared. So yes, thankfully I did take that step, and things have turned out tremendously well, not only for our residents, but for our investors. But that first deal, especially during such an uncertain time, was quite frightening. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I know Trevor pretty well. Yeah. Great guy. And I often use a phrase, done is better than perfect. Right. And we want to be as perfect as we can be, which will never be perfect. But oftentimes, we delay because we're waiting for it to be perfect, right? And then we end up taking no action. And so I think about that often. And so I love that. Just a good reminder for us. What about any other steps that you would recommend to jumpstart somebody's career, in real estate? I mean, you took, 10 years or many setbacks, right, for you. But anything else that we haven't talked about that you could say, hey, this is going to help you to jumpstart your career?
I think aside from the educational piece, getting into a coaching program, if applicable, reading books, passive investing, I think is always a great way. And just taking action, getting experience, even if it's on that tiny scale. I think those are all really exciting ways to gain the knowledge and experience that will help you build that foundation to get into the industry.
Was your husband on board with the real estate business?
Yes, one of my biggest cheerleaders.
Love that.
Yeah, it defies logic, if I'm quite honest, because he works for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. He's an electrical mechanic. He's got a safe, secure job and isn't necessarily entrepreneurial minded, but he married this woman that thinks she can defy the odds and build a real estate empire. And again, similar to my parents, one of my biggest champions. And I don't know that I would have been able to overcome all the obstacles I did without his love and support. And he sometimes sees the vision more clearly than I do. I'm in the weeds and he can, see the overall picture and the overall strategy and, of course, our faith journey as well as it relates to all this. So he's amazing. I'm so blessed.
That's incredible. I know I could not have done it without my wife, and just the support. But how was he educated in real estate at the same time that you were like pushing, you're pushing towards this thing? Obviously he's working, all this happening. We're trying to figure out how we do this, but how was he educated in this and coming along beside you as well?
This is going to make you laugh. No one's asked me this. This is a great story. Our second date was at a real estate boot camp. I'm not kidding. I was so determined. This was, back in 2014 or 2015. I was so determined to continue my education and push into this space that, I let him know that one weekend when he wanted to hang out, that I was actually spending it at a boot camp. And I thought, if this guy's interested in this, this may be a good sign that we both have similar desires and plans for our lives. So he did attend that 3-day boot camp with me, which is a great way for us to get to know each other.
Smart move on his part.
Oh, right? Smart man. But yes, he's continued to attend conferences with me, read books, even the coaching programs that I was a part of. He participated to the best of his ability, things during the day and all that. He's got a regular W-2. But yes, having him join on the journey and having that be part of our marriage and our relationship has been a lot of fun and has kept us aligned, I think, on this vision.
Amy, I appreciate you sharing that and really diving into more of your story of getting started as well, right? And helping so many others to do the same. Before we jump to the next segment, because we're going to dive into, I know, to some market research and even some acquisitions type details and how you've done that. Tell listeners how they can get in touch with you, and we're going to continue tomorrow.
Perfect. So sylviscapital.com. Again, Whitney, I know you'll put the funky spelling last name in the show notes. Pay attention to that. And if you'd like to hear a little bit more about specifically what we've done and how we think about real estate investing, sylviscapital.com/webinar is a great way to reach me.
Thank you for being with us again today. I hope you have liked and subscribed to the show. Please tell your friends about the Real Estate Syndication Show, and I hope that you are learning and growing. Don't forget to go to lifebridgecapital.com where you can start investing today.